The aircraft is lining up for takeoff. You glance at the flight attendant strapped into the jump seat, and she's staring at nothing. Blank. Frozen. It looks like daydreaming. It's the opposite. She's running a memorized checklist called the Silent Review, and part of it is deciding which of you she'd recruit to help save everyone else. Every takeoff and every landing, cabin crew mentally rehearse the same drill. One common version spells OLDABC, operation of the exits, location of emergency equipment, drills, able-bodied passengers, brace position, commands. In seconds, she has rearmed her memory. How her door opens, what she does if it's blocked, exactly what she'll shout. Why this moment? Because most accidents happen during takeoff and landing, and in an unplanned emergency, the crew may need to act within seconds, with no instructions from the cockpit. Even her posture is a protocol. Back and head flat against the jump seat, feet flat, elbows in, a brace-ready position, so a sudden impact finds her already braced. Hand placement varies by airline. FAA guidance says hands rest on the lap or grip the seat, never the harness. Some carriers moved away from tucking hands under the thighs because a hard impact can crush the fingers she'll need to open your exit. That blank stare is a rescue. Rehearsed. Night flight. The cabin lights fade just before takeoff, and you assume it's for sleep. It isn't. It's for your eyes. Full dark adaptation takes 20 to 30 minutes. In darkness, the rod cells in your retina slowly rebuild a pigment called rhodopsin, making your vision far more sensitive. Dim the cabin early, and if the power dies during a night evacuation, you can already see the floor path lighting and the exit signs. The stakes are measured. A research report from the FAA's Medical Institute found a person can lose up to 83% of their ability to find the way out when vision is impaired, by darkness or by smoke. It's also why crew ask for the window shades up. With the cabin dim and the shades open, they can see outside, fire, debris, water, and judge which side of the aircraft is safe before an exit ever opens. You stay oriented too. Dimming at cruise, hours later, that one really is for sleep. The takeoff dim is a different protocol entirely. Your eyes, preloaded for the dark. Cabin crew, arm the doors and cross-check. You've heard that phrase on every flight and probably never asked what it means. Here's what it means. The escape slides were just physically connected to the airplane. Arming a door locks a metal rod, the girt bar, into fittings on the cabin floor. From that moment, opening the door automatically drags the slide out and fires it. Regulations require slides on any main exit sitting 6 feet or more above the ground, and the newest types must stand rigid within 10 seconds of the door opening. The inflation itself is a magic trick. The bottle is barely bigger than a scuba tank. It works because the gas blasts through venturi nozzles called aspirators, and that jet drags in roughly 500 parts of surrounding air for every 1 part of stored gas. A tiny cylinder inflates around 850 cubic feet of slide in 4 to 6 seconds. Then comes the cross-check. The crew member opposite verifies the door's indicator, and the senior runs an all-call so every station confirms before pushback. And no, you can't open that door in flight. It's a plug door bigger than its own frame, held shut by thousands of pounds of cabin pressure. Some of the real codes hide in the transponder. Squawk 7500 means hijacking. 7600 means the radios have failed. 7700 means emergency. They're standardized worldwide, and pilots memorize them with a grim rhyme. 75, taken alive. 76, radio fix. 77, going to heaven. Under acute stress, working memory collapses. A primitive rhyme survives when a checklist doesn't. On the radio, there are 2 levels of trouble. Pan pan means something is wrong, but the aircraft is not in immediate danger. Mayday, from the French for help me, means it is. You've probably noticed the crew go quiet before landing. That's the sterile cockpit rule. Below 10,000 feet, plus every taxi, takeoff, and landing, the flight deck may only do safety essential work. No small talk, no routine calls from the cabin. That rule has a birthday and a body count. September 11th, 1974, Eastern Airlines Flight 212 flew into the ground short of Charlotte while its pilots chatted about politics and used cars. 72 people died. The NTSB traced the crash to that distraction, and in 1981, the sterile cockpit became federal law. And the viral secret codes, Bob, Mermaid, Code 300, airline slang at best, tabloid filler at worst, not protocol. If an evacuation ever happens around you, it won't be polite. It will be shouted. Brace, brace, heads down, stay down. Repeated until the aircraft fully stops, because there may be a second impact. Then, if the order comes, release seatbelts, leave everything, come this way, get out, and at a door that can't be used, exit blocked, turn around. The shouting is scripted. Every command is memorized, short and physical, built to cut through panic. Before any door opens, crew assess the outside first: fire, water, debris, and they recruit able-bodied passengers, off-duty crew, military, emergency workers, fit adults traveling alone. Two typically go to the bottom of the slide, pulling people off and clearing them away. Others hold the crowd back while the slide inflates, or help elderly passengers and unaccompanied kids. Does the brace position actually work? January 15, 2009, U.S. Airways Flight 1549 ditched in the Hudson River with 155 people aboard, the cabin crew chanting, "Brace, brace, heads down, stay down," all the way in. All 155 survived. An FAA study later confirmed it. The brace position significantly reduces head and neck injuries. Behind almost every protocol in this video sits one number: 90 seconds. Since 1967, every large airliner has had to prove that a full load of passengers can evacuate in a minute and a half, with half the exits blocked, in the dark, using only emergency lighting. The certification demo is brutally specific. The federal rules require at least 40% women, at least 35% over age 50, 15% both, plus 3 life-size dolls carried as infants, not counted in the load. Nobody is told which exits will work. No rehearsals allowed. In 2006, Airbus ran the biggest demonstration ever. 853 passengers and 20 crew emptied an A380 through 8 of its 16 exits, in darkness in 78 seconds. Then, reality tested the rule. Toronto, 2005, Air France 358 slid off a rain-soaked runway and burned. 309 people aboard, out in roughly 90 seconds, 0 dead. Haneda, January 2, 2024, Japan Airlines 516 collided with a Coast Guard aircraft on landing. Only 3 of 8 exits usable. The PA system failed, so the crew used megaphones and their own voices. All 379 aboard the Airbus survived. The captain was the last person off, 11 minutes after the collision. 5 of the 6 Coast Guard crew did not survive. That investigation is still open, and investigators say their job is not to assign blame. One uncomfortable footnote: in 2020, a U.S. government watchdog concluded the 90-second standard has never been validated against modern seat density, carry-on habits, or real passenger demographics. Congress has now ordered the FAA to study evacuations as they actually happen. If the cabin loses pressure at cruise altitude, the most dangerous thing on board becomes time. Pilots call it time of useful consciousness, the window in which your brain still works. At 45,000 feet, it's 9 to 12 seconds. At 35,000, 30 to 60. And an explosive decompression can cut those numbers in half because the air is forced out of your lungs. That's the entire logic behind the rule you've tuned out 100 times. Put on your own mask before helping others. Hypoxia doesn't feel like suffocating. It can feel euphoric, right up until your judgment fails and you black out mid-rescue. Your mask runs on a chemical oxygen generator. Single use, roughly 12 to 15 minutes of flow. That sounds terrifyingly short. It's actually a calculation. Exactly enough to cover the pilot's emergency dive to breathable air below 10,000 feet. And that strange safety demo line: oxygen may be flowing even though the bag does not inflate. Literally true, the reservoir bag may never puff up. Keep it on anyway. The newest fire protocol on airliners has a specific villain: your battery. A lithium-ion cell in thermal runaway can hit 500 to 700 degrees Celsius within seconds. Here's the counterintuitive part. Halon, the extinguisher gas airliners carry, kills the flame but does not stop the reaction. Use halon alone, and the battery reignites. The protocol is halon for the fire, then water, lots of it, to cool the cell, then a fire containment bag. The crew choreography is pre-assigned. The first attendant on scene is the firefighter. The second is the communicator, feeding location, source, and severity to the flight deck. A third brings equipment and takes over when the first needs relief. Support crew move passengers and move the oxygen bottles away from the fire. This isn't rare anymore. The FAA logged 50 lithium battery incidents on U.S. flights in 2025 alone, 648 since tracking began in 2006. In April 2025, a power bank ignited inside a backpack on a United flight to Chicago. A flight attendant doused it with water, sealed it in a containment bag, and the aircraft diverted to St. Louis. The protocol worked. Is there a doctor on board? Fly enough, and you'll hear it. There's a medical event on roughly 1 in every 212 flights. What you don't hear is the second phone call. Cabin crew can patch directly into 24/7 ground-based emergency physicians. Services like MedLink, with response centers from Phoenix to Johannesburg, handling tens of thousands of in-flight cases a year. A volunteer doctor in seat 12C is helpful. A specialist on the line is protocol. The aircraft is equipped for the worst. U.S. law requires a defibrillator and an emergency medical kit on any airliner with a flight attendant and 30 or more seats, and it shields medical volunteers from liability. About 70% of events are handled by the crew alone, and the most common is simple fainting. Diverting is the expensive last resort, $15,000 to $200,000, sometimes far more. And only one person can order it, the captain. And if a passenger dies, crew cannot legally declare death. They notify the captain, cover the person with a blanket, move nearby passengers if space allows, and protect the dignity of a stranger at 38,000 feet. The last protocol is for the emergency that walks on board. Crew train on an escalating threat scale. Level 1, a verbal disturbance. Level 4, someone trying to breach the flight deck. The doctrine is de-escalation first. Calm words, a written warning card, cutting off the alcohol. Physical restraint is the last resort. Kits with straps and cable ties, one crew member per limb. Their authority isn't improvised. The Tokyo Convention of 1963 gives the captain legal power over offenses committed in the air, anywhere on Earth. The consequences grew teeth in 2021 when the FAA declared zero tolerance, no more warnings, straight to fines of up to $37,000 per violation. And one meltdown can count as many violations. Reports peaked at 5,981 that year. By 2025, the global rate had improved to one incident every 355 flights. Still there, still counted, still handled by the same people who poured your coffee. Next time you board, watch the jump seat during takeoff. The blank stare, the dimmed lights, the strange call about doors and cross-checks. None of it is routine. It's a layered system of rehearsed protocols, built on hard numbers like 90 seconds and paid for by flights like Eastern 212. The service is the disguise, the safety is the job, and the system is still being rewritten. Regulators are retesting that 90-second rule against real cabins, real passengers, real carry-on bags. Which of these protocols surprised you most? The silent review, the lights, the slide that inflates itself with thin air? Tell me in the comments. Give a like and subscribe for more.